Good morning, everyone. Um, this post is all the times I received visions or dreams from the Most High, the Source, God, Allah. Right. So I recorded like 4 yesterday. Those gonna be the rest of the video. I say this one's my biggest one. So I don't know if any of you remember when we learned about the story of Icarus from. So the story of Icarus Moment was Greek, right? It's a Greek mythology. So in my philosophy on different dimensions and there being a source or a god, whatever, irrelevant. But it was like a kind of like a lucid daydream, and I was. It was like not like I was soaring, but it was more like me eating from the apple, right? The tree of knowledge. I was taking in way too much. Not way too much. Like I think I've taken in like almost as much as I can, right? And it's like, okay. Let me just get into it. So the setting was we were at this tire shop. My mom was getting her wheels changed or aligned or whatever, and I was sitting there on the bench, right, with my mom, and I don't know, I think she got up to do something or she went somewhere while I waited for her turn or something like that, and then the the I had Rebutu, so this is when I was like really in sync with the algorithm, right? And it was like every day I was seeing exactly what I wanted to see next. I was getting the perfect lesson, the perfect video, the right information. Whenever I went on the web, the news, like everything was revolving around me, right? And well, that's of course it's my phone, right, and my stuff. But it was just in this moment, like it was like I clicked on a video I wasn't really supposed to click on, and it was like I could tell it was like a trippy situation because it was like my eyes went in like portrait mode. The phone was in my hand. The background kind of faded out, and it was like a picture of this like flame, kind of like the Lord of the Rings thing, and it was like my son, like, what are you doing here? It was like I didn't mean for it to get like this. It was like I was going down the rabbit hole, right? The rabbit hole of like information, I guess, in like YouTube and knowledge. And I was like, no. I feel like that's what the warning was, right? And then I started like my head started to ring, and it was like, yo, back out of this. I backed out of it. I just put my phone down and I just sat there. And then this old man came out, right? And come later find out this place is owned by a friend, an associate from high school. and I think it was their grandpa or dad that may have came out, and he sat down next to me, and then he just started talking to me. Now, I don't know if this was just like unusual to me because, you know, I was just oblivious. It was just like, you know, not that much people in America are maybe like not that friendly, or people just don't normally come up and talk to me that often, but like outside of school. But he started talking to me, and like the way he spoke to me and what he brought up was like everything that was hitting with me at the time. He was like, yo, he was like, hey, how you going? He was like, what's going on, man? But like the way his tonality, the way he asked the question, I could tell like behind his words, he was like speaking to me from a point to where he saw like something wasn't right, right? Like that's the vibes I was getting from it. He was like, what's going on? Like, you know, some questions. He got to know me, and he was like, so you not in school or anything like that right now? And I'm like, nah, I just dropped out of college. I mean, I just got suspended actually, and I went to go to community. I was trying to work with my dad at the time, but it was hard. And you know, he was giving me life advice, but it was just, I could tell like when he was talking to me, like he was just staring off, right? He was just like, yeah, man, you just gotta take it easy now that you're not in high school, you know. He was like, you just gotta look at life, think about what you want, think about what you want to do, and you know, do what you need in order to like work and get your money, and then like eventually, you know, find a good girl, and then, you know, just hang out with your friends, you know. And that's pretty much life, you know. 'Cause it was kind of like I was getting to a point where it's like, what's next? Like, what's left? Like, what is there? Like, and I was letting things like other people's fears and society fears kind of get to me a bit too much. It was like the way the conversation, because it's been 2 years, but like I got the lesson, and I got the walls and the firewalls built up from it, right? Like I built some firewalls off of that, and it just really was a crazy conversation. And I never saw that man again. Never saw him again. And then I believe he passed not that long after. And I was just like, there's just times, man, when I had like some crazy, like trippy, kind of like deja vu, supernatural events, and like I'm gonna share a couple of them on the internet. But majority of the time, usually it's to put me in a better place, or yellow and red flags to like stop or slow down in life and what I'm doing. Yeah, that's it. Now for the rest of them. The rest of them I got from like growing up. So basically like kind of like my 4 pillars type of deals, 10 commandments type of deals. Welcome back, channel. Got the bias in the cut. He's gone now, I think. Must be Dreamcatcher. So, it's a more spiritual video going into things like message. Basically, based on the title, it says messages from the Most High. Right now, I'm gonna start back. These are 4 main messages that I've always remembered throughout my life that gave me like a real foundation, you know, and like built me a strong connection with the Most High, and just always give me a sign of like the higher power that's out there. You know what I'm saying? So the first one that I could remember going back the longest, I would have to say was back in like, let's see, I was in Metro at the time. I was in Metro at the time. This was like, let's say this between about kindergarten to about like second grade, right? So I had a dream, right, that I was like in the Garden of Eden, right? And I was like a kid at the time, like a really, really young kid. And I say, after this dream, this is like when I became like conscious of the world, earth that we live in. And like I kind of like started to stray away from like that innocence, right? So it was kind of like I was in my dad's condo, right? I was in my dad's condo, and I was in the forest, and then it was like whoosh. You know, next thing I know, remember, it's just like a dream. So then like it's kind of fast paced, and I'm like naked, and I end up running like out of the garden through like a light door into my dad's house. Then I run down the stairs, and then my stepmom comes chasing me, right? I'm in my freaking Adam and Eve outfit, and she comes chasing me. And then, yeah, then like I ran down the house, and then she catched me, and she caught me. And then my dad came around the corner, then he caught us, and then, yeah, that was really it. That was really the end of the dream. Now, years later, right? Years later, I'm saying like maybe like one of my of course like our ancestors is like connected to like Adam or whatever, right? Like the first man, and years later, come to find out that I'm actually missing a rib on my left side, just like Adam, you know? Like literally, like right here. Like I even drew like a little diagram for you guys. So like right here, it's weird. So it's either like the rib isn't there completely. Like before, I always never understood this and stuff because I knew about it type of deal when I was in high school, right? So it's like when I feel where the rib is missing, right here, it's kind of like, just hear a bit. It's kind of like a chunk is like missing, right? Like a little bit of the rib, and then chunk is missing. Before I used to feel like it was like an indent, right? Kind of like it was bent. So like when I got my accident in 2020, and then the doctor's going with my x-rays, she actually told me I was missing a rib, right? So first it was my acupuncturist lady that was telling me about this disformity. I had like a disformity right here. And I was like, huh, that's weird, because that's what she felt. And then when I went back to talk to, because I was getting like, I keep getting like this weird sensation in that area sometimes, you know? It's like, it'll bug me, and it'll like bother me like really, really bad. I don't know what it is. And it's not all the time. It'll be on and off. Sometimes I'm distracted from it. So anyways, yes, I found out that it hurts. It hurts bad. So maybe I'm like a reincarnation of Adam. Maybe I'm just genetically related to him. Maybe my story or my journey is doomed to be like him, or it was like him, because when you think about like school, right? Like we live in the era where we have to go to school, right? Like we have to go to school. And especially being in America, right? I was born in America. I'm a first generation American from my Jamaican family on both sides. So like in Jamaica, school isn't required, but here school is required. And if you think about it, it's one nation under God, correct? And then when you look at the public school system, like there's always apples everywhere. When you go to the library, there's like always like an apple with a worm, and then like when you're really book smart, they call you like a bookworm, right? But remember, we were supposed to bite from the apple, right? The serpent tricked us into eating from the apple. And literally, we contradict ourselves every year or with every birth of another person by educating and teaching us everything about it. Like, we taking a bite from the knowledge, the fruit knowledge every day, damn near, right? So that was that. That's it for the first part. Part 2 is gonna be I say when my root chakra opened, or I first experienced ego death or meeting my ego, aka the devil, Satan, because I put those two together. It just makes perfect sense. And I just want to say, at the time of this story, I had no conscious idea of what the Bible was. Like, I barely remember what the Bible was. I can barely recall knowing what God was, Jesus, Christianity at the time. Like any of that, anything religious at the time, I was completely like kind of oblivious to it. Like maybe I was exposed to it, maybe I heard people talking about it, but I don't even think I was baptized yet at the time, right? So it was like really hard for me. Yeah. But at the same time, like I remember now, with what we know with the psyche, thoughts, reality, Joe Rogan type of deal, it's like a lot of times your thoughts and what you dream and what you see and what you think, it's based on like your environment, the people that are around, like literally the people that are around you, literally the people that you're living with, like depending on whether or not they're in a good mood, bad mood, unless you're just one of those people that are like just a natural, like you're just leading all the time, or your energy is just so like invasive, always going to where no one else is really affecting you. Like I think that's kind of like what got to me at the time, and that could have been why I had those. All right. Messages from Allah, part 2. Right. I like to call the Most High Allah. It's really simple. Like the Almighty, all high. Allah. I mean, it just works. It fits me. So my first, let's see, ego death, root chakra experience within a dream. I think it was in about 6th grade, maybe at the time. 6th or 3rd, right? 6th or 3rd. And I was in a black space, and it was just black being with like a red aura, right? And I swear, I think it was the devil, right? It happened literally like this. All right, I turn around and I was like, oh shoot, giant. I'm talking about like, he was huge, yo. He was standing up. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? And then like, I swear, as I recall, as I used to tell the people, it was like, he kind of looked like my dad, right? It was like, at first it was my dad, and I thought this dream represented fear. Like, what do I have to fear? What do I have to worry about in life? And I feel like that was an early lesson that I experienced, because it was like, long as I feared my dad, I was always kept in check, right? I was always in check. I never had to worry about anything, because like my dad always checked me. Like when I was in high school, and I'll get like go out, party with my friends, get super intoxicated to where like I'm just having fun, loopy. Whenever my dad called me, it would immediately sober me up, right? It'll snap me right back into it. I'll be 12 shots deep, you know, half a bottle in, loopy, lit, singing, dancing, and my dad would always just sober me right back up, right? So I think that was like the message from the source, saying how like one of the messages from the first 10 of the Bible is like respect your parents or things like that. It's like Like, yeah. Like, I remember I used to label myself, I used to, like, label my dad as my, you say, like, my rock type of deal. So that was really scary experience. And it was, like, trippy, right? It was kind of like, if you saw Samurai Jack, and you remember the bad guy from Samurai Jack, that's literally how it looked like. And I was like, yo, like I think it was a combination of me watching Samurai Jack and then me like needing to get humbled. So that's why I had that dream. Or I was like young and I was just like, I wanted to learn something, or I was trying to get my next life. I don't know. And then the last one for this video would be, for this series, the last video for these four would be the one with my mom. So I say this is probably like around like 4th grade. All right. This one was like around 4th grade. I was in New York. Right. I was living with my aunt, and I had a dream. It was like my mom flying from somewhere. I swear it was like her flying from like Cali to like Florida or something like that, and she was pregnant with me at the time, because in the dream or the vision, I was like floating right above her shoulder. It was so realistic, yo. It was so realistic. I was like floating like a baby, and I was like right above her shoulder as she was on the flight. I remember she had like a little suitcase, and then she was just like, she didn't say anything, but based on like her face and her like energy, like I just read her energy just by looking at her in the dream. I could see like the fear, the anxiety on her face, the worry, and I was like, yo, what is this? You know? And then you look down, and then she was just pregnant with me, and I was just like, holy shit. I'm like, this is like a crazy ass dream. And then I woke up, and then years later down the line, I remember my mom telling me stories about how you should just do, she had to do all types of stuff to like provide. She did all types of like jobs and work to provide for me and her when she first started out, because in the beginning, you know, it was just me and her, and family members try to help out here and there, but not much people can just sit there, right? Or at least not in my gene pool, could just sit there and like leech off of somebody. Like, it's just not in us. You know, we got to go create something for ourselves. We got to do something from ourselves. We got to do something for ourselves, you know? And yeah, that was shit, man. That's my 4 major messages I've received from the Most High in a short brief version. It's like 3 a.m. right now, man.